She had to choose between the daughter her parents raised and the woman she was becoming, Emily's journal at 23. Hey, it's Emily, and I need to tell you about my friend Priya. Last week I got a voice message from her at 2 a.m. She was standing on a rooftop in Mumbai, looking at the city lights, and she said something that stopped me cold. I'm 26 years old, and I just realized I've been living someone else's dream for a decade. The 8-year-old version of me wouldn't even recognize who I've become. And I don't know if that's growth or betrayal. Priya had spent her entire life becoming the perfect daughter. Doctor, stable, respectable, everything her immigrant parents had sacrificed for. But the girl who'd wanted to be a dancer, the one who used to choreograph routines in her bedroom mirror, she'd been buried so deep, Priya forgot she ever existed. This is Priya's story, about the threshold between who we promise to become and who we actually are, and what happens when those two versions finally meet. Priya was 8 years old when her parents moved from Mumbai to Michigan. Her dad got a job at an automotive engineering firm. Her mom, who'd been a teacher in India, took whatever work she could find, retail, tutoring, eventually office administration. They left everything behind for opportunities. That word hung over Priya's childhood like a sacred promise. Opportunities her parents never had. Opportunities she was expected to seize. "We came here so you could be anything," her mother would say. But what she meant was, be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. Anything else wasn't really anything at all. Priya was a smart kid, top of her class, science fair winner, perfect SAT scores. But what she really loved was dance. She discovered it at school. Hip-hop, contemporary, even classical Indian dance her mother had taught her as a child. Something about moving to music made her feel alive in a way nothing else did. At home, she'd practice in her room for hours, watching YouTube tutorials, creating her own choreography, imagining herself on stage in music videos, teaching other kids who felt the same fire. When she was 14, she asked her parents if she could take dance classes seriously, maybe audition for arts programs, pursue it as more than just a hobby. Her father looked at her like she'd suggested dropping out of school entirely. "Dance is nice for exercise," he said, "but it's not a career. You're too smart to waste your potential on something so unstable." Her mother was gentler but no less firm. "We didn't come to this country for you to struggle as an artist. We did that so you could have security, respect, a real profession." Priya stopped asking. She buried the dancer, focused on biology and chemistry, applied to pre-med programs because that's what smart Indian girls did. She got into University of Michigan. Her parents cried with pride. Priya smiled through the congratulations and felt nothing. For 8 years, she went through the motions. Undergrad, MCAT, medical school, residency applications. Each step forward felt like walking away from something essential, but she didn't let herself look back. She was building the life her parents had dreamed of, the life that justified their sacrifice. But somewhere around 25, during her second year of residency, something cracked. Priya was in her 3rd month of a brutal internal medicine rotation, 80-hour weeks. Patients she couldn't save, attending physicians who treated residents like they were disposable. One night, she was driving home from a 30-hour shift, so exhausted she could barely see straight. The radio was playing some Bollywood remix, and without thinking, Priya started moving her shoulders to the beat. Just that small movement, that tiny reconnection to dance, made her start crying so hard she had to pull over. She sat in her car in a gas station parking lot at 3 a.m., sobbing, and realized she hated this. Not just the exhaustion, not just the residency, she hated medicine. She'd always hated it. She'd spent 17 years, more than half her life, pursuing a dream that wasn't hers, and she had no idea how to stop. The next day, she called me. We'd been friends since college, stayed close even after graduation. "I think I made a terrible mistake," she said. Her voice was flat, defeated. "I'm about to be a doctor. And I don't want to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a doctor." "Then why did you do it?" I asked, though I already knew. "Because my parents gave up everything for me to have this life. How do I tell them it was all for nothing?" But here's what happened next that changed everything. Priya's hospital was hosting a fundraising gala. There was going to be entertainment, a Bollywood dance performance by a local troupe. Priya volunteered to help coordinate it. just to be near dance again, even tangentially. The day of the gala, 2 dancers got sick. The choreographer was panicking. They needed someone who knew the routine, who could learn it in 3 hours. Priya, without thinking, said, "I can do it." The choreographer looked skeptical. "Have you performed before?" "Not in 12 years. But I know I can do this." She learned the routine in 2 hours. When she stepped on that stage in front of 500 people, doctors, donors, hospital administrators, something inside her woke up. She wasn't Dr. Priya Sharma, exhausted resident who hated her life. She was just Priya, moving, creating, alive. After the performance, people kept stopping her. "I didn't know you could dance like that. Have you performed professionally? You should teach classes." And Priya realized this was still possible. She was 25, not 50. She wasn't dead. She'd just been dormant. But then reality crashed back in. She had student loans, residency obligations, parents who would be devastated if she quit medicine. And the biggest question, was she mourning a lost dream, or was she genuinely meant to do something different? Priya did something unexpected. She bought a ticket to Mumbai, told her parents she needed to visit family, clear her head, took 2 weeks off from residency. She stayed with her grandmother in the same neighborhood her parents had left 26 years earlier, the apartment building where her mother grew up, the school where her father had studied. Her grandmother, Nani, was 78 and sharp as ever. The second day Priya was there, Nani said, "You look like a woman carrying a heavy stone. What is it?" Priya told her everything. The dance she'd abandoned, the medical career she hated, the guilt of wanting to disappoint her parents after everything they'd sacrificed. Nani listened, then said something Priya never expected. "Your parents left India because they wanted you to have choices. Actual choices, not just the illusion of choice within a predetermined path. But they wanted me to be a doctor. They wanted you to be secure," Nani corrected. In their generation, security meant a certain type of job. But is security worth being miserable for 40 years? Priya spent those 2 weeks doing something she hadn't done in over a decade. She went to dance classes, contemporary, classical, hip-hop, places where no one knew she was a doctor, where she was just another person moving to music. She met dancers who taught by day and performed by night, choreographers who ran their own studios, people who'd chosen passion over prestige and were genuinely happy. She also met people who'd tried and failed, who'd gone back to conventional careers, who loved dance but needed the security of a stable income to support it as a serious hobby. Both paths were valid. Both were real. The question was, which one was hers? On her last night in Mumbai, Priya went to the rooftop of her grandmother's building. The city sprawled out below, millions of lights representing millions of choices. She pulled out her phone and left me that voice message. "I've been living someone else's dream for a decade. But I don't know if pursuing my childhood dream is the answer either. Maybe 8-year-old me didn't know what she was promising. Maybe she couldn't see how hard that path would be." But then she said something that made me realize she'd figured it out. What if I don't have to choose between being the daughter they raised and the woman I want to become? What if I can be both? Priya came back to Michigan different. Not radically different, but clearer. She finished her residency. Not because she loved medicine, but because she'd started it and wanted to see it through. Because the discipline had value even if the career path didn't. But she also started teaching dance classes. 1 night a week at first, then 2. She rented studio space. Started building a community. She called it The Threshold, a dance program for women who'd given up their childhood dreams for practical careers. Women who needed to move, to create, to reconnect with who they used to be before the world told them to be sensible. The classes filled up immediately. Turns out there were a lot of women like her. Accountants who'd wanted to be painters. Engineers who dreamed of being musicians. Lawyers who'd loved theater. They came to dance, but what they found was something deeper. Permission to be multifaceted, to contain both the responsible adult and the dreaming child. Priya had a conversation with her parents, a real one. Told them she was finishing residency but wouldn't be practicing medicine long term, that she was building something else. Her father was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "We wanted you to be happy. We thought security would make you happy. If it doesn't, then we were wrong." Her mother cried, but eventually said, Show us this other path can work. 6 months later, Priya's dance program was bringing in enough money to cover her living expenses. Not her student loans, she still needed her medical license for that, but enough to prove it could be sustainable. She created a hybrid life. She works part-time as a physician, telemedicine, consulting gigs, enough to pay loans and maintain security. And she teaches dance the rest of the time. It's not perfect. It's messy and complicated, and she's always tired. But when I asked her if the 8-year-old version of herself would be proud, she said this: "That kid wanted to dance on big stages and be famous. Adult me knows that was never realistic. But she also wanted to move freely, to create, to help other people feel joy through art. And I'm doing that, just in a different way than she imagined." Priya's story taught me something crucial, and I think you need to hear it too. We spend so much time mourning the dreams we didn't fulfill, the astronaut we didn't become, the artist we gave up, the adventurer we buried. But here's what we miss. Those childhood dreams weren't prophecies. They were early attempts to articulate our core values, the essence of who we wanted to be. 8-year-old Priya didn't actually want to be a professional dancer. She wanted to feel free, creative, connected to something bigger than herself. And there are 1,000 ways to fulfill that essence without following the exact path she imagined. You don't owe your younger self a specific career. You owe them a life that honors what they valued: joy, curiosity, courage, connection. Whatever drove that original dream, ask yourself, what did I really want when I wanted to be an astronaut? Was it space? Or was it exploration, discovery, pushing boundaries? Because you can explore and discover and push boundaries in 1,000 fields. You just have to identify the core desire underneath the childhood fantasy. And here's the other thing Priya taught me. You don't have to choose between who you are and who you wanted to be. You can be both. You can build a hybrid life that honors both your dreams and your reality. It won't look like what 8-year-old you imagined. It'll look better. Because it'll be built by someone who actually understands the world, who knows herself, who has real wisdom instead of just innocent hope. Stop measuring your current life against a blueprint drawn by a child who didn't know how anything worked. Start asking, what did that child value? And how can I honor those values with the resources, wisdom, and freedom I have now? That's Priya's story. That's what she learned. And she's still learning it every day. Thanks for being here. If this resonated, subscribe to Emily's Journal at 23. Tell me about your childhood dreams in the comments. And remember, you don't owe your younger self a fantasy. You owe them a life that feels true. I'll see you in the next entry.